Brothers and sisters attending the English program, can you please make your way into the hall and sit as close to the mambar as possible? We'd like to start as soon as possible. Should we start? I think it was wrong to just come out straight. We learn from our mistakes. We apologize. Okay. So inshallah we'll be starting now. Can we get a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad?
Before we begin, for all the ulama and scholars, the known scholars, the unknown scholars that have sacrificed their lives for Islam, for our martyrs and shuhada, especially those that were assassinated just 2 years ago, that many of you commemorated their death anniversary, for the marhameen of all those that are gathered here, for the marhameen of all the mu'mineen around the world, please recite Surah Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي الزهراء محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما بقية الله في العررين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتاب الكريم وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the hastening and return of our beloved Imam, please recite salawat. For us to be of those who get to see the Imam in our lifetime and be of service to him, inshallah, recite the second one louder. And for the love of the Lady Fatimah Zahra, recite the third one with the loudest of your voices. Respected elders, respected ulama, my fellow students, my dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to send my heartfelt condolences to you all on the martyrdom of the lady Fatimah Zahra salamullah alayha. These days belong to the most superior woman that ever stepped foot on this earth. This woman who's a great role model for all devout Muslims, both men and women and non-Muslims. She's not just a role model for today's society, but for every society and for those on the heavens and the earth. Over here, before I continue, I would like to apologize to Sayyid Hashim for not being able to make it on time to listen to his speech, but it was a very beneficial speech. It was actually the topic that we're discussing. It was in Farsi. Many of you who understand Farsi, I would recommend that you listen to this speech. And also I would like to thank the organizers that gave me this tawfiq, an opportunity to come and spend a few nights to share a few words with you all about the Lady Fatimah Zahra salamullah alayha. So for these organizations and for all our organizations and centers that are working hard and trying to spread the message of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, please recite 2 loud salawats. Truly being here, gathered here, sitting here is a great blessing. It's a ni'mah that we need to be thankful for. Many are ill, they couldn't make it to the program, they will be listening online. This is a great ni'mah that we're starting our new year by remembering Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alameen. We're starting our new year by remembering and mourning for this great lady. I know my time is short. Many youth nowadays may question themselves. Many of you sitting here may question yourselves. How can I relate to these individuals? How can we relate to the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? How can we relate to Amir al-Mu'mineen and Sayyidah Fatimah salamullah alayha? They lived so many years ago. We're living in a different time. Can we not relate to them? Let's look at a few aspects of the Sayyidah Fatimah salamullah alayha's life. There's many aspects that we can relate to, not just in this time, in every time. I'll just briefly mention a few before we go on to our topic. One of the things that we can relate to is when we look at the life of Sayyidah Fatimah salamullah alayha is her patience and perseverance in the face of calamities and bala. All the trials and tribulations that she faced. Are many of us going through calamities now, bala? Inshallah, we'll touch on this in a short while. When we look at her knowledge, the importance she gave to gaining knowledge and spreading knowledge, we see that the women of Medina would come to Sayyidah Fatimah salamullah alayha and she would teach them. If you look at her piety, her supplication, everything that she went through, but still she's seen in the midst of the night supplicating, praying for her neighbors, praying for the mu'mineen. Or many a time nowadays, many remember her courage and strength, how she stood up for the oppressed. And we remember the sermon of Fadak that she gave, or we remember when Sayyidah Zainab Salamullah alayha gave those beautiful words after Karbala. Or we remember Sayyidah Fatimah as a compassionate, caring person for her neighbors, preparing food for her neighbors. If we look at her as a family woman, as a mother, as a daughter, the amount of respect she gave to her parents. How did she live with Amir al-Mu'mineen? How was she as a mother? How did she do tarbiyah of her children? Can we not gain lessons from these? Recite salawat, please. So living in these times, in the time of this global pandemic, many are suffering in many ways. Many have physical illnesses. Many have passed away in our communities due to COVID and other illnesses. Many are facing other challenges. Maybe it might be financial constraints on their livelihood. Or like I said, maybe illnesses. Many of us, when we face these challenges, we start questioning ourselves. It's like, why me? Why am I facing these issues? Why am I facing this problem? Why has this challenge come my way? What have I done to deserve this? Am I a bad person? It's like mothers and grandparents. What did my son do to deserve this? Is it only bad people face problems? So today, inshallah, we're going to go through some of our rawayats and the life of Sayyidah Fatimah salamullah alayha, so we can relate to this current time that we're living in, so we can answer these questions. Many of us, when we face these problems or challenges in our life, some of us, our default answer is the evil eye, or nazar in the Indo-Pak community, or chashm bad, or sahar, or ain al-hasad, some may call it, but the evil eye. Before looking at other factors, the first thing many of us mention, or grandparents will say, or other friends and family members will say, for example, when a son or daughter gets ill, it must be the evil eye. Someone has done some sort of magic on them. Or when it comes to a problem in a marriage, a dispute in a marriage, some people, again, the default answer is what? That someone must have done some sort of magic or evil eye on this person. How should our default answer be this? There could be many potential factors that led to this dispute. If it's in regards to a marriage problem, let's see what caused this. Let's not always go to the default answer of sihr or evil eye. I'm not saying this doesn't exist. We have some narrations that mention ways to repel this. For example, you have wearing the hijr of Imam Jawad, you have reciting Ayatul Kursi and different ayat to repel this. Yes, it's unfortunate that some people in some communities that resort to this just to cause harm, they go out of their way to try and cause harm, but there's a few people like this. These people have a sickness in their heart. They may be jealous of something, or hatred or anger that they can't control, that they resort to try and cause harm to others. So before it's too late, for the guidance of these people, please recite a salawat. Okay, let's look at a few examples of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam. So we can realize that It's not only bad people get tested and face challenges in their life. If we look at the lives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the other members of the Ahlul Bayt, look, what did they face? What did the lady Fatimah to Zahra salamullah alaiha face? Even though she lived a very short life, how many challenges did she face? I'm not reading Masiba here, but we just, so we get more familiar with the best of people being tested. We look at the start. For example, when she was a young child, in the shib of Abi Talib alayhi salam, in the valley of Abi Talib, there were sanctions put. The Banihashem and the followers of the Prophet were forced to go in this valley. It got to the extent where the mushrikeen put a treaty together to besiege the Banihashem, where trade was forbidden with them. No one could buy and sell from them, to the extent they couldn't buy and sell food. Imagine this, a young child for 3 years going through this. If you look at our history books, it says it got to an extent in the valley of Abi Talib that at times you could hear children and women crying. At times people were so hungry that they would share a date. People would share a date, khurma, to survive. What else did she see? After a short while, she loses her beloved mother. These are not small things that the lady Fatimah salamullah alaiha throughout her life, from a young age up until her shahada, is facing. After that, what else does she see? This is just to get a bit familiar with challenges and trials and bala, to see Sayyidatul Nisa al-Alameen is also facing. We see she has people threatening to kill her father. It's not a normal person. This is the Prophet of Islam. People throwing rubbish and other things, insulting the Prophet. She's seen her father wounded. She attended many battles. How courageous was this woman? She attended many battles with her father. At one time she sees her father's bleeding. She starts crying. And then she attends to the wound of her father. And then afterwards, the Prophet's death or shahada, we see he's disrespected. And after that, her rights taken. These are not small things. We won't understand the calamities of Sayyidah Zahra salam alaiha. The masiba is beyond our comprehension. Because we have to take ourselves back to those times and understand who these individuals were. You know, it got to a time where Sayyidah Fatimah salamullah alaiha, she has to come out and knock on the doors of the Ansar and Muhajirun. What kind of calamity was this? She's coming to those that are apparently the dear, close companions of the Prophet, but they accept what she and Amir al-Mu'mineen are saying. They know Fatima bad'atu minni. They know she is Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alameen, but no one answers her call. Please recite salawat. Don't want to carry on too much because I know many of you will just start to break down and we won't be able to carry on with our actual topic. What we realize from the life of Sayyidah Fatima salamullah alaiha is the most perfect of individuals, the most perfect of women face challenges. It's not always because we're a bad person that we face challenges. Let's look at some of the verses of the Quran and some narrations that talk about this. We see like the verse that I read before you from Surah Ankabut. God says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, أَحَسْبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do people think that they will be left alone just by saying we believe, we have iman, and they won't be tested? Another surah in the Holy Quran, in verse 155 in Surah Baqarah, God says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَلُنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوءِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. That surely, certainly, every single individual will be tested. Every single person that has stepped foot on this earth will be tested in different ways. This is not me, this is the Quran. What will we be tested with? What was Sayyidah Fatimah Salamullah alayha tested with? We'll be tested with hunger, of fear, of loss of wealth, a loss of life, many things. In one of the commentaries I'd like to mention here, when they say thamarat, some people mention that this is mentioned last because people translate it as fruits. Some people say it's a loss of children. That's why it may be one of the most difficult of challenges for a person. So we may be tested with this as well. Let's look at a few narrations. Recite salawat, please. There's a lot of brothers and sisters here. It seems that I know it's very late, you're very tired. Please recite a louder salawat. Before I continue, there was something that I wanted to touch on since we're talking about bala and challenges. And I see it as a responsibility and duty, since I've been given this opportunity, to make our community aware of some of the problems that we're facing today. If we look, especially living in this current time of the pandemic, many people are feeling lonely. So this is not normal for us. We've lived, some of us, 20, 30 years. We haven't witnessed anything like this. There's many in the Muslim community and the non-Muslim community facing many physical and psychological illnesses like anxiety or stress or depression. And unfortunately, because in some communities this is seen as a taboo subject, it's not spoken about. And these people, these members in our community are neglected. Someone may say that they're suffering from anxiety or stress. Some people say, you'll be okay. They don't know what that person is going through. So they don't give it much importance. But ask those people that are suffering. Some of them will say that this psychological pain is far greater than any physical pain that I've ever felt. We know many people in our community, some family members that are suffering with these things. Let's try to help them. Let's not push them away. You know, sometimes we try to advise someone who's going through a problem. It may be a marriage problem or a death of a loved one, or a mother, of a brother, or a sister, or a friend. And we approach that person, we console them, we say, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. But sometimes I feel, and I've witnessed, and people have approached me, that we're a bit insensitive. Sometimes we give the wrong advice at the wrong time. I know the intentions of the believers are not bad. Let's just be a bit more careful when we speak to these individuals that have just lost someone, or they've just had a marriage breakup. The first thing a person doesn't want to hear is, everything will be fine, you'll get married again. It may be true, but this person has just spent 10 years with someone. They may not want to hear that straight away. For example, someone may have lost a child. These beautiful mothers who have lost young children. I don't want to get into that. The great status of these mothers and these children that are waiting for them in heaven. When it comes to children, sometimes we'll say, it's okay, God will give you more children. God will give you another child. And this is true. Of course, everything is in God's hands. These are all amanats of Allah. He will take and He will give when it's best for us. But maybe that sister or that brother, they didn't want to hear that one day after they've lost their son. Let's just be a bit careful when we approach these people, when they're vulnerable. And for those people that have been through these situations, just a reminder that when people approach you or say these things, they don't have bad intentions. Us mu'mineen, we will say things according to what we think is best. We don't have bad intentions to cause harm on you, to make you think when you go home that this person, how dare they say such a thing? No, these people don't have bad intentions when they advise you. Just we haven't been in that situation, so we don't fully understand it. Recite salawat, please. Just before I continue, just a quick reminder to all those that are suffering or lacking motivation or inspiration. Never belittle yourself and your abilities that God has given you. Sometimes you may fall, you may crumble. You'll be faced with very difficult challenges. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to feel down. But you will get through it. Just take those steps. Don't get stuck in that hole. Make those small steps. It may seem difficult, but take a step at a time. Don't rush into things if that's something that you cannot do. Approach people. There's no harm in approaching other members of the community that have maybe experienced this and dealt with it in the best of ways. There's many things that people have mentioned. For example, physical exercise is great, being around nature. But as well as all of those things, don't forget your spiritual side, your connection with Allah, with our connection with the Most Beloved. Coming to these majalis, it's a great help. Mourning and remembering the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. It purifies our heart. It softens our heart. Just coming to these gatherings and mourning for them, as some of our narrations say, that the Prophet of Islam faced the most severest of tests. And those lovers that are closest to them, the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, their tests are hard also. And then those lovers that are closest to them. Why do they have some of the most difficult of tests? So we can relate to them. So I think it was the Prophet, we find in narrations that, when you're facing problems, console yourself and compare them to our calamities. Then you'll find some sort of comfort in them. So many of you that are suffering or know people that are suffering, those of you that are listening at home, many of you thought that you wouldn't make it through 2021. You thought that problem, that challenge that you were facing was so difficult that that's it, I can't do this anymore. But subhanAllah, look, we're sitting in this new year, in 2022, and you've made it through. And Allah has given us a tawfiq. This wasn't promised. The next second, the next hour, the next day, the next year, it's not promised. We've been given this opportunity, so make those small steps. So for all those that are suffering with anxiety, stress, or any other illnesses, please recite a salawat. I don't normally recommend certain acts to do on the mimbar, but there's many scholars who have advised people that are facing many hardships in life, that finding it very difficult to cope. Or many people that have hajat, they've tried everything, but nothing's working. Many of these scholars have advised, and this is tawassul to say the Fatimah. They've advised is a salat or namaz istighatha of the Lady Fatimah Zahra. is that, as you know, many of our scholars, when they were stuck in difficult times, they did tawassul to Sayyidah Fatimah, and that problem was resolved. And as our martyrs mentioned, when they were on the battlefield, when they had no hope, they tried everything. They couldn't find a way out. How did they get a way out? Through tawassul of Sayyidah Fatimah. So those of you that are struggling, try it. Maybe once a month, once a week, if you can. Try to implement this namaz if you can, or other tawassul to Sayyidah Fatimah salamullah alayha. Now let's get back to our discussion of these challenges and bala. As we realize from the ayat that everyone will be tested. Everyone will face challenges. It's not only the bad people. There's many reasons that are given for bala, which I don't want to get into. Let me just share one story. One of the ashab of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam invited him for a meal. Many of you may have heard this story. This Sahabi invited the Prophet for a meal. As the Prophet sat down with this Sahabi, a hen came and laid an egg on the wall. And that egg, it fell, it didn't drop. It fell into a wedge, I think it was. The Sahabi looks at Rasulullah. He goes, Ya Rasulullah, by the one who has sent you with the truth, I've never been afflicted with a loss. Indicating as small as this egg. I've never been afflicted with a loss. Do you know what the Prophet did? What did the Prophet do? He stood up and he left. He said, Allah has nothing to do with someone who's never been afflicted with a loss. He said, this is not something small. There's many stories like this in our reliable books. For example, when the Prophet ﷺ went to ask for someone's hand. I'm not going to go through the whole story, but in conclusion, the father started explaining that my daughter is like this, she's like this, and giving all her fadail, and said she's never been afflicted with a loss. In my own words, the Prophet said, no, thank you. What has nothing to do with someone who has never been afflicted with a loss. Let's look at another narration from Al-Kafi. It says, Allah tries the believer in this life according to their iman, their degree of their conviction in faith. What do we realize from this story, these ayats or these narrations? It's not only bad people will be tested. When everything is going smoothly in life and there's no hiccups in life, that's when we know something is wrong. It's easy to say that, we're lovers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. When everything is okay, there's no problems. But we really find out how strong we are as believers when we face these problems. For example, when we have a dispute at home, how are we going to make things better with maybe our wife or our mother? Or maybe someone at school. Many of you are young here. When we say we're lovers of Sayyidah Zahra salamullah alayha, this comes with responsibility. We can't just say these things. We have to act. When you're at university, when you're in the public places, when you're in a different town, and a calamity may come your way, how are you going to act? When, for example, when you're walking on the street, maybe it's the summer in the UK, there's many non-mahram women inappropriate dressed. How are we going to act? Are we going to show in our actions that we're lovers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? We're lovers of Sayyidah Fatimah salamullah alayha? When challenges and difficulties and problems come your way, that's when we'll find out how strong we really are. As the Quran says in other verses, why did He create this death and life? Why? Ayyukum ahsanu amala. To distinguish, to see who is the best amongst us. Recite a salawat, please. I know it's very late and my time is short. So inshallah tomorrow we'll continue with the other aspects of the Lady Fatima's life. For example, her in the family, her as a daughter, how much respect she gave to her parents. How she was as a wife, talk about marriage. How she was as a mother, how she did tarbiyah of her children, and how many men and women can relate to this. But tonight, I know many of you are here to mourn and cry for the Lady Fatima. It's very late in the night, so I want to spend a few moments just remembering some of the tragedies that fell on the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Tonight we're not mourning and remembering an ordinary lady. You know, sometimes just looking at the fadail of this woman, it makes one cry. Makes one cry. This is Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alameen. In so many narrations, Fatima bint Rasulullah is reminding us she was the daughter of the Prophet of Islam. That so many claim that they follow his sunnah or his teachings. So what did they do to the Lady Fatima? Let's turn off the lights and close your eyes. I know many of you have many problems. Just for a few moments, so appreciate this tawfiq that God has given me and you to remember the Lady Fatima Zahra tonight. Let's just put our problems away for a little while and focus on the Lady Fatima Salamullah alayha. I'll start with a narration from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, where he says, Inna azim al-ajr la ma'a azim al-bala wa ma ahabba Allahu qawman illa ibtila'ahum. So that the greatness of one's reward lies in the greatness of calamity. And God did not love a people except that He made them suffer and face this calamity. So how much love did Allah have for the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam? How much sufferings and tragedies and bala did they face? I know crying, for mothers and for loved ones, it's not difficult. Many of us have lost loved ones, we've lost mothers, we've lost sons, daughters, friends. Many a time we just sit and we speak and they start remembering some of the memories they had with, for example, their mother. I remember a brother, he was just talking to me about his father and he just mentioned his hand. Saying, my father shook my hand like this. He started to cry. Why? Because we love him so much. He didn't care who was in front of him. He was talking to me. Why? Because it's someone he loved so dearly. I know sometimes we're very shy in crying and mourning. But when it's for your loved ones, is there any shyness in crying? We all say we love the Lady Fatima Zahra. So many of us have lost loved ones. We go to the graveyard. You look at these graveyards. You go to the graveyard and you see beautiful tombstones with names. And this is This is, for example, Fatima, daughter of this person. You have names written on the graves. You have poems written on the graves. You know, we go, we remember, we cry, and we supplicate. We take flowers to the grave. But what about Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alamin? Where are we meant to go for the lady Fatima's grave? Can we even go there? There's restrictions. I know there's many different reports. Where are we meant to go? Where are the followers of the Ahlul Bayt meant to go? Shall we go to Baqi? Are we allowed to stand at Baqi? Should we go to Rawda? Or should we go to the house of Sayyidah Fatima? Salamullah alaiha, that many say is where her grave is. Assalamu alayki ya bint Rasulillah. I know when it comes to the Masiba, it's very difficult reading the Masiba of Lady Fatima. It's very difficult to comprehend. So I'm just going to read a few salams, and this is enough for a Masiba. I know many of you understand Arabic, and you'll understand where I'm going with it. Just remember who she is. Assalamu alayki ya bint Rasulillah. Assalamu alayki ya bint Nabiyillah. Assalamu alayki ya bint khayri khalqillah. Ya Zahra. Assalamu alayki ya zawjatu waliyillah. Who is she a mother of? Assalamu alayki ya Ummul Hassan wal Hussain. Imagine how the children of Sayyidah Zahra are on a night like this. It's on a night like this that the heart of Amir al-Mu'mineen is grieving. It's very heavy. He's about to bid farewell to his comfort, to the daughter of Rasulullah. He's about to return this amana that was given to him. Assalamu alayki ya binti Rasulillah. Assalamu alayki ayyatuha as-siddiqatu ash-shahida. Assalamu alayki ya Fatimah. Assalamu alayki ayyatuha as-siddiqatu ash-shahida. Some of these lines in this ziyarah are very painful. Assalamu alayki ayyatuha al-madlum. Madlumatul Maghsuba. What happened to this lady? How was this lady treated after the Prophet's death? Assalamu alayki. Those of you understand Arabic, this line is very painful. Assalamu alayki ayyatuha al-muztahidatul maqhura. How was this woman mistreated and maltreated and persecuted? Allahu Akbar. Sallallahu alayki wa ala ruhik wa ala badanik. Oh Allah, send your peace and blessings be on the lady Fatima, on her soul and her body. I just want to share a story here. I remember a few years ago on a night like this, I was in Qum. I think it was Dr. Rafi'i, if I'm not mistaken. He was reading a story about Kuche Banihashem, the streets of Banihashem. So during the times of Fatimiya in Qum, in many other places in Iran, what the Mu'mineen do is they make, it's like an exhibition. They try to replicate the street of Banihashem. They call it Kuche Banihashem. So now before this exhibition starts, the mu'mineen gather, they help, just like many of you have helped set up the place. So they're getting this exhibition ready. And it comes a time, everything is ready, except the door of Fatimah. There's ulama present, everyone's sitting there, standing. Everyone's in silence, everyone's heart is racing. They have to make the half-burnt door of Lady Fatimah to Zahra. So one man, he puts petrol on the door, some sort of oil on the door. Now it's time to light this door. You know what happens? There's no masibah being read. So this man, he takes a matchbox out. He takes a matchbox out to light this door, just to make a replica of the door of Lady Fatimah to Zahra. He takes a matchbox out, tries to take a match out. His hands are trembling, he's shaking. He drops the match. Everyone's wailing and crying, the ulama are crying, Ya Zahra, Ya Ummah, Ya Madar. There's no masibah being read. How can this man light the door? He knows that this is the door that that the Prophet used to come and give his salam. He tries again, he takes another match out, he starts trembling, he's crying, he can't light the door of Lady Fatimah to Zahra. He can't make it. Why? He remembers. The Prophet used to, one narration we find, Allahu Akbar. The Prophet once approached the door of Fatimah, he pushed it slightly. I promise you, he didn't kick it or bring any fire. He pushed it slightly. And he said, Assalamu alaikum. Can I come in? Sayyidah Fatimah replies, Wa alaikum salam. But I'm not wearing my hijab, so the Prophet waits, she puts on a hijab and he gives salam again. But what did the people do after the Prophet's death? Now this man, he's standing there. Again, he takes the match out, but he can't light the door. Why? He's remembering Fatimah bad'atu minni. How did these 95 days pass on Sayyidah Fatimah to Zahra? Tomorrow, inshallah, we'll read more of the Masibah, but how did these days pass? When we look around, look at the ages of your mothers. Look at the ages of your mothers that have passed away. Look at the age of Lady Fatimah. What happened in these 95 days that she left this world after the Prophet's death? What happened that they say the state of Sayyidah Fatimah in this time, it became that there was nothing but skin and bones left of this beloved lady. What had happened in these 95 days? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. ألا لعنة الله على الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا فاطمة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا فاطمة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا فاطمة. With your voices, inshallah, cry out for your mother who is gharib in Medina. Cry out for the lonely one in Baqi. Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya فاطمه یا زهرا یا زهرا یا فاطمه یا زهرا یا زهرا یا فاطمه یا زهرا 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 Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. 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 Oh Ali, cry for Zainab. Oh Ali, cry for Zainab. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry for my for Zainab. Oh Ali, cry for Zainab. With your voices. Oh Ali, cry for my. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry for Zainab. Oh Ali. With your voices, inshallah. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry for Zainab. Oh Ali, cry. And ever since I lost my father, ever since I lost my father, every day my life gets harder. Every breath I took after him. Oh Ali, the pain got sharper. Oh Ali, the pain got sharper. Ali, everything seems distant. Medina now feels so different. Even the streets feel so tightened. Those same walls feel like a prison. Those same walls feel like a prison. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry for Zainab. Oh Ali, cry. ابكني يا أبا الحسن وابكي لليتامى. ابكني يا أبا الحسن وابكي لليتامى. ابكني يا أبا الحسن وابكي لليتامى. وابكي لليتامى. یه گل یاس شکسته، شاخه هاش از هم گسسته، باغمون خسته خسته، کنار گلش نشسته، کنار گلش نشسته. گل یاس یاس بهشته، روی گل برگاش نوشته که فقط تو این زمونه
عشق حیدر منو کشته. Oh Ali, cry for my Hassan. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Oh Ali, cry for Zainab. Oh Ali, cry for Zainab.
Father, I'm now left with my tears. Father, I'm now left with my tears. And one night I've lost many years. The only thing soothing me now is knowing our meeting nears. Is knowing our meeting nears. Oh Ali, time to part breaches. How my heart gets torn to pieces. Now this house drowns in loneliness. How your pain only increases. How your pain only increases. Oh Ali, cry for my Hassan. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry for Zainab.
فاطمه آروم جونم، گل یاس قد کمونم. فاطمه آروم جونم، گل یاس قد کمونم. دعا کن اگه تو رفتی دیگه من زنده نمونم. دیگه من زنده نمونم. تو همیشه غم نشینم ای امیر المومنینم. دعا کن تا من بمیرم اشک چشماتو نبینم. اشک چشماتو نبینم. بعد تو سیاهی بخته، زندگی بی تو چه سخته. بمیرم که از لب تو خون میریزه لخته لخته. خون میریزه لخته لخته. ابکنی یا ابوالحسن و ابکن الیتاما.
ابکنی یا ابوالحسن وامكل اليتامى.
ابكني يا أبا الحسن وابكل اليتامى.
وابكل اليتامى. Oh Ali, look after Hussain. Oh Ali, look after Hussain. Teach Zainab to take on his pain. Oh Ali, look after Hussain. Teach Zainab to take on his pain. Look after my daughter's small hands, for one day they will be in chains. For one day they will be in chains. Oh Ali, cry for my Hassan.
Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain.
Oh Ali, cry for my Hassan. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry for Zainab. Oh Ali, cry for Zainab. Oh Ali, cry for my Hassan. Oh Ali. Oh Ali, cry for my Hassan. Oh Ali, cry for my Hussain. Oh Ali, cry for Zainab. Oh Ali, cry for Zainab. Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain.
علی شور شیدایی من، نجف شهر رویایی من. شکوه تماشای من تو تنهایی من، علی شور شیدایی من، نجف شهر رویای من، شکوه تماشای من تو تنهایی من، دلتنگ ایوون طلای نجف هستم آقا، من دل به اذن دخول حرم بستم آقا، عهدی که بستم به جان تو نشکستم آقا، به جان تو نشکستم آقا، یا مرتضا 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 ای علی جان، یا مرتضا 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 ای علی جان، یا مرتضا مرتضا everyone علی جان، یا مرتضا 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 ای علی جان، یا مرتضا مرتضا علی جان، یا مرتضا مرتضا ای علی جان، مرام مدینه پر از مرام مدینه عجیبه، پر از مردم ناجیبه، بمیرم که حیدر غریبه، که حیدر غریبه، شهری که داره هنوز رنگ و بوی پیامبر، شهری که با نام زیبای او شد معطر، دیگه نمیده جواب سلامی به حیدر، جواب سلامی به حیدر، یا فاطمه 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 جان، 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 تو چشما بارون امشب، دل مجتبی خون امشب، مدینه شده روز خون و پریشون امشب، روزه میخونه برای غروب مدینه، میگه که اون روز یه نامردی از روی کینه، طوری زده تا که چشمای مادر نبینه، به والله غریبی همینه، یا فاطمه 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 جان، یا فاطمه 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 جان، یا فاطمه فاطمه
together inshallah, یا فاطمه 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 جان، یا فاطمه
Ya Fatimah, Fatimah.
سيدتي يا زهراء سيدتي يا زهراء سيدتي يا زهراء سيدتي سيدتي يا زهراء يا زهراء. Oh, the mother of her father, oh, the mother of her father, you are the best of the mothers. Oh, the guide for 13 lanterns, you're the heaven of our masters, the flag held by every bearer. It's from your hands they are nurtured, from the greatness of your prayer. The world has Abbas and Akbar, mother of mothers, Ya Zahra, master of masters, Ya Zahra, mother of mothers, Ya Zahra, master of masters, Ya Zahra, Sayyidati Ya Zahra, Sayyidati Ya Zahra, Sayyidati Ya Zahra. Brothers, have you become tired? Right side. Sayyidati Ya Zahra. Call out for Fatimah with your voices, inshallah. Sayyidati Ya Zahra. Oh, the mother of her father, you are the best of the mothers. Oh, the guide for 13 lanterns, you're the heaven of our masters, the flag held by every bearer. It's from your hands they are nurtured, from the greatness of your prayer. The world has Abbas and Akbar, mother of mothers, Ya Zahra, master of masters, Ya Zahra, mother of mothers, Ya Zahra, master of masters. سيدتي يا زهراء سيدتي يا زهراء سيدتي يا زهراء. Together, سيدتي يا زهراء. Your scent was from heaven's flowers. It's your steps that flourish gardens, growing within every servant. The oneness of Allah's power. Your strength came from heaven's mountains. You taught us faith can't be broken. We will never leave our master, just like you never left Haida, scent of the heavens, Ya Zahra, power of mountains, Ya Zahra, scent of the heavens, Ya Zahra, power of mountains, Ya Zahra, Sayyidati Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Sayyidati Ya Zahra. Your strength came from heaven's mountains. Your strength came from heaven's mountains. You taught us faith can't be broken. We will never master, just like you never left Haydar. Your scent was from heaven's flowers. It's your steps that flourish gardens, growing within every servant. The oneness of Allah's powers, scent of the heavens, Ya Zahra. Power of mountains, Ya Zahra. Scent of the heavens, Ya Zahra. Power of mountains, Ya Zahra. Sayyadati, Ya Zahra. Oh, Sayyadati, Ya Zahra. Let me hear your voices, brother. Call it Fatimah, inshallah. Sayyadati. Oh, your pleasing is Allah's pleasure. You change destinies with prayers. From your hand flows heaven's rivers, and God's mercy is in Kauthar. Your pleasing is Allah's pleasure. You change destinies with prayers. From your hand flows heaven's rivers, and God's mercy is in Kauthar. How can one forget your station? For you could hear revelation. Your level cannot be questioned when angels seek your permission. Fountain of Kauthar, Ya Zahra. Teacher of angels, Ya Zahra. Fountain of Kauthar. Teacher of angels, Ra Sayyadati, Ya Zahra. Sayyadati. Sayyadati, Ya Zahra. Upon God's throne your name's written. Upon God's throne your name's written. Yet your words they did not listen. Upon God's throne your name's written. Yet your words they did not listen. For you the door will bear witness. The house of Zahra's innocence. How can our eyes not weep oceans? How can our eyes not weep oceans when they bend the doors of heaven? Standing behind was our mother, as broken nails dug deeper the heart of Haydar, Ya Zahra. The cries of heaven, Ya Zahra. The heart of Haydar. The cries of heaven, Ya Zahra. Sayyadati, Ya Zahra. Inshallah. Sayyadati, Ya Zahra. Upon God's throne your name's written. Upon God's throne your name's written. Yet your words they did not listen. For you the door will bear witness. The house of Zahra's innocence. Upon God's throne your name's written. Yet your words they did not listen. For you the door will bear witness. The house of Zahra's innocence. How can our eyes not weep oceans when they bend the doors of heaven? heaven. Standing behind was our mother, as broken nails dug deep the heart of Haydar, Ya Zahra. The cries of heaven, Ya Zahra. The heart of Haydar. The cries of heaven, Ya Zahra. Sayyidati, Ya Zahra. Sayyidati. With your voices, Sayyidati. Ya Zahra. Sayyidati, Ya Zahra. Your pleasing is Allah's pleasure. Your pleasing is Allah's pleasure. You change destinies with prayers. From your hand flows heaven's rivers, and God's mercy is in Kauthar. How can one forget your station? For you could hear revelation. Your level cannot be questioned. When angels seek your permission, fountain of Kauthar, Ya Zahra. Teachers of angels, Ya Zahra. Fountain of Kauthar. Teacher of angels, Ya Zahra. Sayyidati, 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 Ya Zahra. هر که دارن هوس کربلا، بسم الله بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله. حسين حسين حسين
Hussain, 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 Hussain.
ذکر قلبم همه جا فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب و بلا. نی اگه دار نوا، فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب و. ذکر قلبم همه جا فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب. نی اگه دار نوا، فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب. جبرئیل میده ندا، فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب. بهترین شهر خدا، فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب. مستم مجنون آقا، حرم تو دوست دارم، چشمام پرخون آقا. حرم تو دوست دارم، میگم از جون آقا. حرم تو دوست دارم. حرم الله فقط مال حسینه، حرم الله فقط مال حسینه. لقب شاه فقط مال حسینه، حرم الله فقط مال حسینه. حرم الله فقط مال حسینه. لقب شاه فقط مال حسینه. آرزوی دل ما فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب. آرزوی دل ما فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب. خاک پای شهدا فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب. زمزم و سعی و صفا فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب و بلا. بهترین ملک و بنا فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب. بازم هیئت پر شد، حرم تو دوست دارم، انگار دارم از دور. حرم تو میبینم توی حال از نور، حرم تو میبین. بازم هیئت پر شد، حرم تو میبینم، انگار دارم از دور. حرم تو میبینم توی حال از نور، حرم تو می. حرم الله فقط مال حسینه، حرم الله فقط. لقب شاه فقط مال حسینه، لقب شاه فقط مال حسینه، حرم الله فقط مال حسینه، حرم الله فقط فقط مال حسینه، لقب شاه فقط پر میگیرم به هوا فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب و فرض مشهد و رضا، فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب و دست گرفتم به دعا، فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب بهترین صحن و سرا، فقط کرب و بلا، فقط کرب و بلا، بهترین صحن و سرا، کرب و بلا. هر دم هر روز غم تو رو میسوزم، هر دم هر روز هر شب غم تو رو میسوزم، ذکر روزت بر لب، تو غم تو میسوزم مثل بی بی زینب، تو غم تو میسوزم مستم مجنون آقا، حرم تو دوست دارم چشمام پرخون آقا، حرم تو دوست دارم میگم از جون آقا، حرم تو دوست دارم، حرم الله فقط مال حسینه، حرم الله فقط شاه فقط مال حسینه، لقب شاه فقط مال هر که دارد هوس کرب و بلا، ای والله به ابی انت و امی یا ابا عبدالله، حسین 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 وای 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 حسین 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 وای 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 حسین 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 وای حسین تموم شد وای قریب تشنه لب، وای 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 روزه یه روز شب، وای 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 حسین 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 وای حسین سقای دشت کربلا، سقای دشت کربلا، سرش به نوک نیزه ها، دستش شده از تن جدا، ابوالفضل 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 دلبر و دل داده و دلدار ابوالفضل، دلبر و دل داده و دلدار ابوالفضل، ای پسر حیدر کرار ابوالفضل، ای پسر حیدر کرار، تویی که صاحب علمی ای علمدار، تویی که صاحب علمی ای علمدار، یل تمام عالمی ای علمدار، یل تمام عالمی ای علمدار، یا زینب یا زینب
محمد رسول الله، لا اله الا الله، لا اله الا الله، محمد رسول الله، علی ولی الله، علی ولی الله، علی ولی الله، ناد علی یا مظهر العجائب، ناد علی علی عجائب تجنده نلك في النوائب، كل هم وغم، كل هم وغم سينجلي بعظمتك، بعظمتك بعظمتك بنبوتك بحق فاطمة بنبوتك بنبوتك محمد بولايتك علي 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 علي
علي علي علي علي علي علي علي
يا هيدر يا هيدر يا هيدر يا هيدر يا هيدر يا هيدر يا زهرة 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 أين المنتقى 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 يا حجة ابن الحسن أنجل على ظهورك يا حجة ابن الحسن أنجل على ظهورك يا مولاي ای پسر فاطمه oh the son of Fatima in this majlis for your mother commemorating, weeping and mourning over the tragedy of the door, over the tragedy of our dearest Fatima. Remember the son of Zahra, Sahib al-Zaman, who is alone, Ghareeb. Here we are crying for his mother Fatima. Ali was crying for Zahra, Hassan and Hussain, Zainab Kulthum, our masters by the side of Zahra. But who is with you, Ya Sahib al-Zaman, who sees your tears, who commemorates with you the martyrdom of your mother, who is there to send their condolences upon you. For this majlis, for the acceptance of our du'as, especially for the hastening of our Imam, recite 5 times. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا أما يجيب أما يجيب أما يجيب المضطر إذا أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء بك يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم Ya Dhal Jalal wal Ikram. Oh Allah, you know of our sins, you know of our true nature. Forgive our sins, the sins of our parents, the sins of our neighbors, the sins of our marhumin and mu'minat, the sins of our brothers and sisters. Oh Allah, accept the hajat of everyone who asks for you. Accept all the prayers بحق Fatima, بحق these majalis that we mourn for our mother. Oh Allah, ease our hardships in the hereafter. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of our Imam, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Oh Allah, accept these tears, accept our mournings. Oh Allah, allow us to benefit from more majalis of the Ahlul Bayt. Don't let this be the last salam or majlis for our Ahlul Bayt, for all the marhumin mu'minat, especially for the marhumin mu'minat of Sayyid Kamber, of Brother Hamid, of all the brothers and sisters who have been involved in this program, all the brothers and sisters who intend to come but didn't come, all the brothers and sisters around the world commemorating for our mother, especially for the marhumin mu'minat who have known to recite for them, and the shuhada around the world. Recite the Surah Fatiha ma'as salawat.